Great, we're back again, but we're in the show.
And we're back.
Yeah, sorry about it.
So I think you got most of what I said before, but I found a teacher that really believed in me. And at 13, when somebody believes in you, it releases an incredible amount of power. And so suddenly, from being a kid who didn't do anything seriously, I was sitting at the piano for 5, 6, 7 hours a day, just playing. That's all I wanted to do. So even though I started late, I think that my advantage was that I really wanted to do it. It was my choice, always. And I think that was very important. And so I went through the conservatory in Italy very quickly, and I won some competitions. And so, it wasn't just me and this teacher thinking something, but, I guess I was getting some feedback from the world in general. Then I went to study at the conservatory in Moscow, and then I came to the United States and studied there, and ended up getting a master's degree and a doctorate. And then after that, that's when my career kind of officially started. I started touring more locally and then internationally, and now I'm here in Singapore, and it's great. I just played a concert at Botanic Gardens, which I think you came to, and it was a lot of fun.
Tell us more about music, because when you first discover and ponder upon music at a young age, what was music to you at that time?
Well, I guess when you're young, you don't think so much. So now it's easier to go back in hindsight. But when I was a young boy, I just liked the sound of it, and I thought it was very emotional. And I guess I was an emotional kid, and so I was drawn to it. And I will say that perhaps my style of music is a little bit different from the normal classical artist, in that I communicate through the piano, but I also very much like to engage the audience verbally. I like to talk to my audience, and I think that opens up a whole different level of communication. They can understand how I play, and that's all very somehow in the air, but when you actually talk to them and ask them, so how are you guys doing today, and then they talk back, and there's real communication, verbal communication, they go away feeling like they really know me, like something has transpired, and I think that's very different, and a lot of people tell me that's very different about the way I approach a concert.
Now, you said that they found that the music that you actually express is emotional, and they even could relate to you in many ways, more than once. Did you discover that from the very beginning when you were young, that as you play the piano, it actually comes forth from your spirit?
These are tricky questions, of course, because it's a whole realm of emotion and feeling, and what is that really? I know that when I play, I guess I go to a different place. Maybe that's the best way to say it. And something happens to me. And probably people who listen can tap into that and can feel some of that. I think a successful performance for me is if I'm able to make people forget where they are, which might be difficult in Singapore where it's 95 degrees, but forget where they are and forget themselves, and for a second go somewhere else.
Who were the main influence of your music? I know that you said earlier that you perform in a different style.
Mm-hmm.
Is away from the classical, but more for like a fusion, I suppose.
Right.
Yes. So, and also because it actually enhanced the way you are now. I know you have a great. You don't dress like a classical musician, but more towards a fusion, in between classical and punk and rock and so forth. So who were the main influence of your music?
Well, I started touring with a guy who now I play quite often with, who's a trumpet player. His name is Joe Bergstaller, and he influenced me a lot, because he also had a similar style but different, of communicating with the audience verbally. What he did was he would tell stories, but they were very set stories. So he knew exactly what he was going to say and repeated it word for word. Whereas what I like to do is tell stories about myself and about the music, but I'm very open to the audience feedback, and I very much play off the audience. And I think that's a little bit different. It's more like improvised. And of course, you were saying that my style is a little bit different as far as the way I dress. And actually, I'm coming out with a new CD, and it's called No Smoking. And it's called No Smoking for two reasons. One is because I wrote a piece for a friend of mine to get her to stop smoking, and she did stop smoking. And so I called the whole CD, the whole album, No Smoking. But also because I don't wear a smoking jacket. I wear a leather jacket, so it's no smoking. And that is my approach. I think that if you dress like everybody, everybody feels more comfortable. You dress like them, you get up and you talk to people, not you talk down to them. You just talk to people like, how are you guys doing tonight? What were you doing before you came to the concert? I think it's just a friendlier and more engaging way to put yourself in front of people. And then they feel more open to listening to a style of music that maybe they would never have listened to, like classical music. I write my own music also, so I usually at a concert will typically play Beethoven, Chopin, Rachmaninoff, but then I'll also play my own stuff in between. So they really get a good idea of who I am at the piano and off the piano.
Great. Now, speaking of the pieces that you wrote on your own itself, what sort of style do you usually maneuver?
That's a good question. I think that my music is influenced by everything that I've learned before, but in particular, probably composers like Rachmaninoff and Prokofiev, who are Russian composers. I studied in Russia. I played a lot of Russian music. But also, I would say it's influenced by jazz. So it's a weird mix. But I think it's all very approachable. Usually, it's rhythmical in nature, and it's like a combination of rhythmical and lyrical.
So who's your favorite artist that you adore most, or
performer?
Or composer.
Or composer. Well, composers, I guess I love very much Chopin. I love very much Rachmaninoff and Beethoven. Maybe if I had to name three, those might be the three. And
so since you have performed many performances around the world, what was the most memorable experience you have seen so far?
Well, I've gotten that question a lot, and for some reason I always feel like it's the most recent one that is the most memorable. That may just be because I have a bad memory, but the truth is that I played just a couple of days ago in the Botanic Gardens. There were over 4,000 people there. It was a concert to raise money for Japan. It was an amazing experience. Of course, I've played in places like Carnegie Hall and philharmonic halls in Italy, and places that are more like conventional or established, or and that's also very exciting, but in a different way. I mean, I found, for instance, that the audience here was very spontaneous and just like.
Is music a necessity?
Yes. In fact, I would say that if you do want a career in music, it shouldn't be something that you want. It should be something that you can't do without. It shouldn't be a choice. It should be a necessity, precisely. Like, I couldn't do anything else.
Great. Do you have a wish list, so far? I know that every musician has a wish list, but do you have a wish list of what would you like to do for your next step right now?
Well, I think that since everything that I'm about is communication, I would like to be able to communicate to the largest number of people what I do. And I think that probably the next logical step is in the direction of TV, movies, concerts that are televised, or having a show in some way, because that's really what mass media is, how people get around these days. And of course, through vehicles like the internet, or websites or Facebook, and I'm on all of these things, but bigger concerts, and I think the great thing about what I do somehow is that even if it's a very, very large concert hall with thousands of people, I think it's still possible to communicate in a personal way.
Oh yes, before I forget, how did someone like yourself been discovered, and do what you do today? I think this is one of the $1 million question that someone and most people will be asking.
How did I get here?
Well, how do you find yourself able to sign on to record labels and so on, and get to do what you do right now today? Because I'm sure you have a manager or someone that actually helped you.
I wish I could tell you, but unfortunately these secrets must remain with the arts.
Ah, okay, no problem. So if you were not a pianist, what would be the next best thing that you would probably choose to do in your next second life career?
Korean pop star? Either that or maybe hairdresser.
well, once again, thank you, sir. And for this wonderful chat with the National Critics' Choice.
Thank you.
And we look forward to your next concert very soon, and as well as your album release.
Thank you very much. It's been great talking to you, Robin.